it's kind of a crapshoot. I never know when it starts.
Right,
Um,
right.
but I have a general idea that it's going to start at some point, soon. Um, yeah, dude, I interviewed a Marxist Leninist truck driver.
That's fresh.
Yeah, that just doesn't happen. That's just not. That's not. It's just not done. All right,
Well,
we're live. We're good.
it's been done now.
It's been done now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, he was cool. He's cool. Dust James. He's real cool. So I was really excited
Right.
about that. But
How did you meet him?
through like left book. I mean, just through the leftist, just kind of just you know the left sphere of
What
things.
is left book? I'm not up on left book.
Oh, left book is just what people call like all the lefties and radicals and stuff on 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 Facebook. It's
Yeah.
left book.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was an actual like app.
No, I wish. I know. It's just a nickname for like people who like to argue about dead Russians. I don't know.
Yo, how come you don't have a radio?
Why don't I have a radio show?
Yeah, like you totally seem like the kind of dude that should actually have his own radio show.
It would take a lot of time. I'm like right now, like the only reason I'm really doing this is because I've gave myself an incredibly intense work schedule for like 2 weeks, and I was like every hour was accounted for working on one poem or another, working on one section of poem or another, doing reading, doing this, and I just I'm a raging egomaniac, but I'm not a narcissist. I need to interact with other people. I need to hear other people's like thoughts about their life and the things they're doing. I can't just be like I can't stare in the mirror like for 24 hours. It's too much.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of doing this now. But like I don't know how much longer I'm gonna do this. But well, now I'm starting to get attention for actually doing this, and like there are people who are interested in like archiving it at different places, and so now it's become this important thing. Even this conversation is historic, possibly.
It's crazy, right? Because like you never really know, right? Like you kind of just start off with like this casual idea or whatever. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna do this thing, and then all of a sudden it's like a body of work. Like this is a body of work now, right?
Yeah.
Like a catalog archive of like thoughts, poems, reflections, not just taken like at a significant moment, but in a significant way that reflects the moment, right?
Yeah.
Because this is what we're doing right now. This is what this is what the whole fucking world is doing right now. We're video chatting. We're video chatting interviews. We're video chatting meeting. Fucking SNL is on Zoom. Like SNL is on Zoom. So on Zoom skits about Zoom meetings. But have you seen, like, did you see last week's SNL?
No.
It was because like so they did the whole show virtually, right? And with the exception they did I highly recommend checking this shit out. They did one like anime and Middle-Aged Mutant Ninja Turtles, which that's hilarious. But they did like a Zoom meeting. They did like Bernie's concession speech. I'm trying to remember some other skits they did, but they did like a game show, but they did the whole show basically, via like virtual interaction. And like so I'm in like recovery programs, right? And for some people in recovery programs, like physical contact is super important, like being able to like see somebody, feel somebody, hear somebody, right? But I also come from like at this point like a tradition of work where like conference calls, like video calls, like to that shit. It doesn't really. I mean, of course, I love physical contact too. Don't get me wrong. I love hugs, handshakes, and laughing in person, among other things, just like the Lex notebook, you know what I'm saying? But I can manage this. Like I can deal with this, right? But it's crazy. It's just like like these things, they in these moments they start off kind of small,
Yeah,
and casual.
yeah.
I'm sure you didn't like. Was this your plan? Was this your
I'll
plan, or did it
tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened. I was doing this. I was proposed. I got someone, a professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills, said let's read Capital and film it once
Mhm.
a week, discussing a section of it. Right. So we created this idea of the professor and the poet, and so me and him shooting back
Wait,
and
okay,
forth
wait. So on like a video chat like this.
on this exact app.
Okay,
And but this exact app, you only get 3 times a month for free.
right. I peeped
Right?
that.
So I'm like, all right, well, 3 times a month, there's 4 weeks in a month. I'm gonna have to buy this thing. So I bought
Right.
this thing, and this thing's $30. I'm like, I'm not
And
gonna spend
how much is a subscription and shit?
$30 a month, and I'm not gonna spend thirty
That's not bad.
dollars. I mean, it's not bad, but I'm not gonna spend $30 just for one extra Zoom or one extra, a meeting, right, with this guy. So I'm like,
Right.
if I'm gonna buy this thing, I'm gonna use this thing, right? So that
Right.
attitude, my attitude of like, which is so stupid because I'll spend money on the most ridiculous things. I'll spend money on ridiculous things, but like when I spend money on things that could actually enhance my life, I'm like, I need to get bang for the buck. I need to I'm not made of money here,
Right.
I have like YouTube Red. I mean, I have the YouTube like the that came with a Karate Kid. Like I still have that. Like like I have all kinds of money that I'm spending money for no reason. But when it comes to like something like this, I'm like, I'm not gonna get ripped off here, So
Right. So you had to make the most of it.
so I'm making the most of it. That was the idea. And then all of a sudden, I just became addicted to just talking to people, and then it became a game. Like, okay, they're saying this, they're saying this, they're saying that. What's the most interesting thing they said, and how do I stretch this conversation to an hour with someone I barely even know? And just
So what have you learned? So what have you learned in this process? Because I can't imagine that like you don't run into some really interesting shit, but also some like really uninteresting shit though. Just being real. I'm not trying to put anything in match or nothing. You know what I'm saying?
it's not so much that's not interesting is that it's familiar. There's a lot of familiar information, but the
Right.
unfamiliar information I learned about that some people consider like Rochester area, not Rochester, but the you know where Cornell is, Ithaca area.
Yeah.
People consider that area part of northern Appalachia. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Interesting.
I know that either, actually.
Yeah. So that was
Yeah, I
interesting.
had no fucking idea.
Yeah. So like I think Appalachia for us living out this way, it's a theoretical. It's like it's a poor white people on the moon kind of thing, right? We don't actually think of where it physically is, and when we do think it's Virginia or something, it's Virginia, right? But no, it's an actual place with actual physical location. So that was kind of interesting. I know that. I learned about what else did I learn? I learned some new stuff about Denver. I learned that in not Denver, Boulder, Colorado, there were these students who fought for ethnic studies got killed a couple decades ago, and I knew about that. But what I didn't know is that Boulder, Colorado, the University of Boulder is actually just this year commemorated with a statue, but they didn't want to do it. But then they did do it, and now people are mad because the statue's trying to water down what happened, which was like car bombs, people getting killed and shit. It's a really terrible episode in U.S. history that's really kind of brushed under the rug. And so they're like, all right, fine, we'll acknowledge it. But then in acknowledging, it's like it's kind of shocking and jarring to people. So that's kind of interesting. I learned about Rutherford B. Hayes. Rutherford B. Hayes, the president, the 19th president of the United States of America. Yeah, I learned about him. Yeah, he won the presidency and lost the electoral college. I mean, he won the electoral college and lost the popular vote. He was the first one to do that.
Wait, why did that come up?
That came up because I interviewed Margaret Kimberly, who the Gender Report, who just wrote the book Prejudicial. And I asked her just jokingly, like, there's the highlights, there's the notables, the notable racists like
Yeah.
Wilson and LBJ or something like
The obvious ones.
the obvious ones. But like, what was it like to do like research on like the flyover presidents, like Rutherford B. Hayes? And then she like gave me this history lesson on Rutherford B. Hayes, and so now I know, you know, that he was very corrupt.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, yeah, I probably could have guessed that. But,
Right. Probably could have guessed it. I'm curious. One thing I was kind of hoping we get a chance to talk about. I guess it's kind of two different things, but sort of blended together. I've actually, you've been on my mind a bit because I've been wondering, sort of like, kind of given sort of the work and kind of schools of thought that we both come from, right? Like how you're sort of reading the moment, and what are and what you see as kind of the next things coming down the pipeline. And then also, so I don't know if you got invited to this, and but Bruce Wright is doing like one of these, like an online kind of Zoom panel discussion, um, on the role of artists at a time like this, right? Um, so I guess I'm curious both about kind of how you see the role of artists in general and how you see your own individual role, and then whether or not you're actually producing art right now and what kind. So those
right.
are that's two very wide
Yeah.
spaces, right?
Well, first, I have to say that you took a great risk of hurting my feelings had I not been invited.
Yeah.
Which I have.
You were invited.
I have been invited. Yes, yes.
Okay.
I've been invited. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Right. I love Bruce so bad, bro. I don't even care.
Huh?
I love that dude. I love that dude.
Oh no, Bruce is great. I'm just saying, like artists are sensitive, man. You could have hurt my feelings there. But anyways,
Right.
I am invited. I'm coming. I'm definitely coming.
Great.
So what do I think about artists or whatever? I am working on like a number of projects, or was working on. Now I'm doing this, which has become a project. Which this was fun. Now it quickly became work, right? Because because it has a destination that I don't want to tell people because I don't want it to affect what they say. I don't want them to feel like they're like performing for whatever. But there's a destination. I mean, but so now this has become work. But the poems I was working on a couple different poems. I have like a cork board over there, which like has Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 of these poems. I have all these different things. So I guess those ideas over there are kind of like floating around my subconscious. And so when I decide to join my conscious brain, they're gonna be they'll be almost completed without me even knowing it. So I guess that might happen. Hopefully, I don't know. But yeah, I'm working on some stuff. I have this big project where I'm interpreting nonfiction work from these authors who agreed to be part of it, and I got some big names to agree to be part of it. It's just an email, and then they write it. And who doesn't want like to be flattered to have a poem written about their book? So it was pretty simple. But I got some big names. I got some big names that agree to do it. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm just working on reading these books, interpreting them into poems, distilling them into poems, getting their essence into this, And so that's been kind of cool. That's been interesting. So I'm staying productive, but then this was like supposed to like get my mind off of that because I was making so many demands of myself, like finish this, work on this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do that, right? Just being really hard on myself, just really demanding of myself. And then and I was like, no, man, I need to chill out, man. I need to chill out. No, I need to talk to other people. I need to whatever. So I started doing these interviews. And then next thing I know, I was doing 9 a day, because
right.
I'm a recovering addict, man.
And probably putting ridiculous demands on yourself, more than likely.
Yeah.
Kind of a behavioral pattern, bro. Might want to look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of a recovering alcoholic. I mean, like it's kind of...
All right. I can dig it. I can definitely dig it. Definitely dig it.
So for those who don't know, I'm Matt Cedillo, and you're on my page. You know that. This is Shamakao Noble, founder of Hip Hop Congress, great MC. So yeah.
Oh right, we actually didn't even. We just started talking. Have you been doing that? Have you been like talking to people for like 20 minutes and being like, oh yeah, that's right. This is.
No,
So
I've been like Charlie Rose, man. I've been highly structured, but tell me that's fascinating. And I'm doing this other weird thing where I pretend like I don't exist. I'm just like, oh yes, that's really very interesting. Tell me else. What
yeah.
else happened? They're like, and some people get this weird, like Matt, you were there. Like, what the fuck is going on?
You know,
I
I kind of wish I'd known this time. I used to have a radio show on Santa Clara University, um 103.3 KSJS,
yeah.
and I've been thinking about that a lot recently. Actually, I might. There's a part of me that would like to get back into radio,
Mm.
um, uh, or at least this kind of a thing. There's something about sort of open public dialogue, right? Um, done well or done right, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Um, I mean, done wrong, it can be fucking tragic, right? It can be ridiculously fucking boring, misinformative, deceptive, uh, cringy, creepy. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
obviously, there's a lot of ways you could go sideways with it, but I mean, I mean, I've been there. I mean, but done right, it's spontaneous, it's powerful, it's insightful, it's connective. Um, you know, I remember, I remember one time, um, I was doing radio, and so like this album, this came across my desk or whatever, and it was the name of the artist was AK9, right? And
Yeah.
he was like an independent Bay Area artist. His music street shit, right? And I had never heard of him, right? So I
Yeah.
was like, and I started talking on the air. I was like, AK9. So I don't really know who this guy is. So and I don't remember exactly what I said. I said some shit, but like 20 minutes later, the bell on our studio door rings, right? And lo and fucking behold, it's A9. And like he was listening. I don't know if he was listening to the show or if somebody called him, but he rolled right up to the motherfucking station. You know what I mean? And like I was kind of stunned for a second because I was like, wait, fuck up, or is this an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So, and we used to do our show. It was a community hangout, right? So, people would just come by, hang out, chop game. We had like 4 or 5 regular characters or whatnot. So I was like, fuck it, come in. You know what I mean? Like, come on in. So he came in, and we did like a 30-minute interview, and we were like friends afterwards. Like, we're friends now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so like I'm just speaking of sort of the power of public dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Like just by saying out loud, I don't know who this guy is. Not only do I now know who this guy is, but several other people know who this guy is. We're like friends now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and I kind of miss that. I kind of miss that.
Why
Uh,
remember when I was at in your garage, you were doing some like podcast type thing, and then and we were talking
Yo,
about these things that in
I was just
20
listening to that the other day.
well 2020 would some of that stuff would be like career ending statements, right? But we were like no, maybe 2020, no, it's not so much. 2020 is more like back to like, all right, leave people alone. 2018, 2019 career ending statements. We were talking
Right.
like um like these movies from the 80s, racism or progress.
Right. You know what's crazy? It's how how relevant that is right now.
Is it racism or is it progress?
Racism and progress is if that's today, if that's happening.
Yeah.
We should bring that back. That's something that we should absolutely.
The real distinction here is that progress does not mean revolution. Progress does not mean solution. Progress does not mean the problem has been solved. Progress simply means something progressed and it's a little bit better. I don't know. That's what racism or progress. That was what the philosophy behind the show was.
Well, I mean, I guess, and that kind of, I mean, I feel a lot to touch in like the role of the artist today, but since we're heading in that direction, um, no, I mean, I'm curious, like, how are you reading this moment, like all of the political implications of it? Because I definitely, I lost hope for this country. I think like 5 years ago. Um, I just don't think. I think this motherfucker's just gonna collapse.
I
I
it's
just,
possible. I mean,
you know.
yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, what do you have some hope?
Here's what I think. I don't necessarily hope. I don't. I mean, absent like like there being like a big political movement. No, I have no hope. But like, I don't think that I don't. I'm not ruling out the possibility of a big political movement or moment or something. But like, what I think needs to happen, and it needs to be done by someone far more, um, someone who knows how to do these things way better than I do. I mean, shit. But like we need like a party or like a political organization that has like 10 item demands. I don't know what they are, but like free housing, free healthcare, free, like a stipend to eat every year, right? Even a certain baseline survival level. Kind of like, I guess kind of like UBI, but like but more comprehensive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then like and that everyone in the political party repeats these 10 demands and they don't say anything else. They're like the fucking Borg. That way, if like turns out you were an embezzler, or turns out you're have some shady past, you get hit by a bus, whatever, it doesn't matter because we all sound the same. You know what I mean? Like that would be, I think, a step in the right direction if there was a third party that was devoid of personalities. You know what I mean? It
Mm-hmm.
was simply have these 10 demands, and that's it. Now, just because, you have these 10 demands that are baseline, it doesn't mean we don't have opinions on like, you know, like native land return or reparations or, like all these other various like things that are very specific and have to do with histories that have to do with the different peoples that live here and, like all kinds of things, right? All kinds of issues. But
Mm-hmm.
if there was this political party that never veered off like these 10-point demands, right, no matter what, that would politically change the landscape of the country. And I'm not saying it would win elections. I'm not saying it would really whatever, but it would change things, right? It would change things. It would shake things up. And I think if that were to happen, I think that whatever. But that's just like my thought. That's just my idea. That's just my conception of what I think should happen. Because like I don't know, it's like it's I don't know, when it comes to like fixing the world, when it comes to like making things like materially better for people, making things materially better for your neighbor and for yourself, even if you hate them, um that stuff's got to be devoid of like emotion and ego and all that other stuff, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying devoid the world of emotion and ego, like I'm a fucking slam poet. I mean, like I don't like I compete all the time. Like or I come out of that world anyways. Like I haven't slammed a long time, but like I come out of that world of like competing with people and trying to be the best and trying to own the stage. And I'm not trying to get rid of that. I'm not trying to like make people stop playing baseball or something like that. But like when it comes to like our survival, this idea of being like the charismatic leader who like is best at telling us how to survive. It's ridiculous. We need to like get very baseline about these things. You know what I mean? So our
Mm-hmm.
entire concept of politics is really fucked up. Even the Marxist-Lenin stuff, even the stuff I like, like Castro or Lenin, doing this and all that stuff that I like model my poetry after. I don't know, man. I think a simpler, just straightforward, just like we need this, 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 and we're seizing power, and you're going to jail. I like that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I think that's kind of some sexy shit, bro. Like no, so I've been thinking about this. Like so we use this phrase a lot in different sections of society, principles, not personalities, right? Like we use that phrase a lot. Um and we use where that phrase still manages to exist or survive. You know, we use it in an environment of like the everything and the downloadable and the like check out the multiple pictures of me through multiple filters and like by the way more me and here's some you and me and then here's but there's me and us, you know what I mean? And and it's it I really I'm so right now me personally I'm kind of on this shit where like I realize just in my everyday regular life that the thing that's going to hold down the most is being principle driven, right? Is being character driven. And I'm saying this as a person who spent a lot of their life chasing ambition,
Mhm.
right? And didn't necessarily get to like the mountaintop, but you know, touched a couple of summits here and there. Um, and kind of look back on it, and I mean, yeah, of course, there's good times. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there was like laughter and parties, and you know what I mean? There's all that shit, you know. But I mean, I think if there's some space that kind of constitutes regret, um, it's in those spaces where I compromise the principle, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they might not have been like political principles; they might have just been character principles, right? But I mean, to your point, the idea that I mean, you know, you're saying like, what if you're somebody who's embezzling or, and it kind of sucks that we even have to like put that up, right? Like we have because here's the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that each time that the fucking human species is completely like emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually healthy, you're gonna keep running into fucking narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths. And what these motherfuckers are damn good at is identifying and exploiting your weaknesses. So if you want to be greedy, or you want to be motherfucking lustful, or you want to be motherfucking jealous, or you want to be any of that shit, and
Yeah.
they want in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, you know, talk about like the GOP, right? How the
Yeah.
GOP is basically like a criminal cartel.
Mhm.
The GOP is a fucking, I mean, yeah, it's a criminal cartel. Another way to look at that is it's a collective of fucking narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths. Motherfuckers that do not have what we commonly refer to as regular ash emotions and empathy, right? And so, you know, you see people like trying to convince them to be ashamed and shit. You know what I mean? It's like, you know,
Right.
it's like laughable. Like you're not, you know, like you know what you were saying earlier. Like these are the motherfuckers you're just gonna have to lock. So,
Yeah, lock them up. Yeah, yeah. And but I'm saying like
you know
if
what I mean?
there's a whole bunch of us, right, and we're all saying the same thing, you can't do that to everybody. I mean, you can't do it to everybody. But if we're relying on like the one charismatic guy who da 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 da, and then they're gonna dig into his past and they're gonna find some kind of thing, and it's something that like a bunch of other people are guilty of, and then like and then oh the movement's over, you know, or they're gonna do something and the other person maybe it was horrible what he did, right? But then it's like well, fuck him. But why was it about him to begin with? You know, why was it about one individual? If like Bernie Sanders, for instance, you have Bernie Sanders on stage and he's
Yeah,
saying all these things, and you have like 10,000 people there, right? And they
yeah,
all agree with him, right? And then
yeah.
he's like, oh shit, I lost. Hey everybody, support Joe Biden, right? And they're like, no, we don't want to. Well, if
Right.
that's nine
Which pretty
thousand
much everybody is saying, by the way. That's
right. So you have
yeah,
9,999 people saying we don't want to do what you just said we're going to do, right?
right.
Right. But it's this one guy who we all agree with, or all 10,000, but one guy steps out of line, but he's the guy. So now that he stepped out of line, we don't know what to do, right? So this position of the guy, we need to do away with it. You know what I'm saying? Because then,
Yeah.
if we didn't have the position of the guy, then it'd be like 9,999 people as opposed and one guy who was like, we'd be like, get out of here, guy. You know, we're not doing that.
But Matt, I mean, okay. I mean, so this is kind of where I was going. So I think that's I mean that's beautiful, right? But there's another aspect of this reality that kind of sucks though,
Mhm.
And okay, I might be overstepping my boundaries, but I'm gonna just throw it out there, right? Like, why is there a guy? I know part of the reason that there's a is because not everybody wants that responsibility or responsibility at all, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy as a person who has made several failed attempts to lead organizations. I can tell you it's very easy to snipe people taking that risk. It's very
Yeah.
easy, right? But
Yeah.
most of us won't take it.
Right.
Like, even like it's a lot to get a motherfucker to be like, you should vote. And I don't even really think voting is super effective, but I also don't think it's useless. I mean, I think when you're in total war, you explore all options, right? Like, you explore all options. Now, I think the best you can get out of the electoral system is to unmask your rule. The best you're gonna get out of it. You're not, like, the idea that you're gonna get a political revolution out of it is we'll call it optimistic. It's optimistic. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's I want to be fair. I want to be fair to my brothers and sisters, and whatever appropriate pronoun is applicable.
So our friend
Because,
Bruce. Oh, sorry.
oh no, go ahead. Oh, just to wrap this up. So I mean, I 100% agree with you, right? I really I think that what you're really proposing is a principle over personalities. Hella peace. What you're proposing is a principle over personalities political party, right? Uh,
So when someone tries to you shit and you borrow that part, that's principles over personalities, political party platform.
oh man, we totally just made that up, everybody. We did not plan that. Which theoretically I think is the correct thing, but I think part of what I'm saying is that, like, that requires a this is where I get hopeless. It requires a level of political maturity I do not think we have critical mass to accomplish. And I'm cynical. I will concede I'm cynical, but
Here's
I
what I
haven't
say.
fucking
In the process of establishing we will create people. Such people in the process.
Yeah, possibly. You know. Okay, so yeah, you're gonna say.
Right has a question. What gives your life purpose?
Oh shit. Oh gosh, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. Hold on, I apologize. So I don't know. Shit, why you gotta get fucking philosophical, Bruce? Um, what gives your life purpose? Um, Spirituality. Um, my children. My family. Um, okay, so I know I'm coming across um a fucking pessimistic, cynical bastard right now, but I actually have a lot of hope in community, and in humanity. I do not have a lot of hope in the United States of America as a entity, whatever that means, and all that comes with it. Primarily because it's comprised of a fucking psychopathic, exploitive history that remains unreconciled. It remains completely unreconciled, and that can only result in blood, literally or metaphorically. That's born in blood, dying in blood. Just live by the sword, die by the sword. It's fucking simple enough, right? But I've always believed in people. I've always I've always believed in people. Um, I think one of the things, it's funny. Bruce is asking me this question. He has to know this is a part of my answer. Um, I think one of the things that we see in moments of great struggle almost universally is that some people show the worst in themselves, but some people also show the best in themselves. Or just the best in people in general. Um, and like I remember hearing stories, like I remember being out in New Orleans and hearing stories about Katrina, right? And like the way that neighbors came together. And you know, on the news you get these pictures of people like hoarding food and you know, looting or whatever. And but like when you talk to the people, I mean, you know, I mean within reason, like there's this one story I heard from his family, right? And you know, they were talking about how families would travel from house to house, right? And a family would share, they would share all they could until they absolutely could not. And there was no beef and there was no hard feelings, right? And there was no violence and there was no like trying to steal nothing. They were just like, cool, thank you. And there was gratitude and there was like healthy, reasonable separation. Like like human beings are capable of that. Like we are absolutely capable of that. So when you get to this moment, right, and all of a sudden there's all these spontaneous rent strikes. You know what I mean? Like human beings are capable of like people who 3 ago would have been like, I'm not political, right? Um, are now part of a collective organizing a rent strike just on the basis of not just survival, but survival and solidarity. Like survival and solidarity, right? So as long as I know that's there, until such time that I don't see that anymore, like I'm always at least kind of in it. But like if America, I mean, really, I'm kind of like I kind of feel like we should just secede from this motherfucker straight up.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's talking about it. You know, Newsom's talking about it. So I'm, you know, like I don't view Newsom as like a class, you know, brother. But
No,
I'd rather struggle against Gavin Newsom than Donald Trump. I mean, shit, man, I'd be for it. But
yeah,
I want to say, you know, I want to do this again with you, but I actually have another person coming up in a minute. And so I'm trying to keep on this schedule. And based on this conversation, let's do this again. So me and you can do this for this recurring thing, right?
yeah,
Doesn't
I
have
would
to
love to.
be.
We
So
can
we'll
do
do
this
this
shit
again.
weekly. I'm down. Let's
Yeah,
do
we
it.
can do this wickedly. Okay, so I want to say that I embrace I meet your optimism with a raised fist and open arms, right?
Yeah.
And I meet your cynicism with
Oh, shit. That's very practical. That's very cool.